It is that time of the year again. Buffalo Sabres hockey returns tomorrow. I'm going to be doing at least weekly Sabres videos. And on these Thursday videos, I'm going to give a short recap of what happened the week prior. And then I'm going to look into the week ahead. But today we're just going to be doing a season preview because, well, there's nothing to really recap because they haven't played any games yet. So let's get right into the roster this year because I've been saying it for a while now. This is the most complete Sabres team I have seen in quite some time. Now, that doesn't mean it's the most talented Sabres team. We've had a lot of teams where, I mean, if you look back under the Botterill era, a lot of these guys have won Stanley Cups, right? I know we all know that. But, they just didn't mesh well as a team. Whereas this group, it's just a complete team. And I think if a lot of our stars play at the level they did in 2022, and we get that bump from the fourth line and some good goaltending, this team could definitely make the playoffs. I see some people projecting the Sabres to finish third in the Atlantic. I see others projecting the Sabres to finish, last or second last, and I could see either one happening. But let's get right into this lineup here. So the first line is similar to the first line of last year. We have J.J. Peterka, Tage Thompson, and Alex Tuch. Let's start with Peterka. Peterka was the one bright spot last year. It seemed every star on the Sabres decided to have an off year. J.J. Peterka did quite the opposite. He soared to the top of the lineup, was one of our best players last year. And so far in preseason, well, he had his hometown goal in Germany and also had a hat trick before they left town. So I think he's looked pretty solid so far to start this year. Again, J.J. Peterka's going to have to play good again this year if the Sabres want to make the playoffs. Another X factor, a guy that you don't exactly know what you're getting, but man, if he could reach his potential, this team is going to be off the hook. Then we moved to Tage Thompson. Again, had a lot of injuries last year, that hand injury. Again, with a guy who his top asset is shooting the puck, pretty darn hard. If you're going to put a hand injury in the mix, it's just not going to go well. And we saw Tage Thompson's numbers drop quite a bit last year. Again, he didn't play as many games as he did the year prior either, so it is what it is, but Tage Thompson has to have a bounce-back year. Again, this is the best player on the team by far. If Tage Thompson does not have a good year, this team is not going to sniff the playoffs. So you need a really good version of Tage Thompson. You don't need that superstar Tage Thompson because, like I said, this team's more complete, but you certainly can't live with the Tage Thompson of last year. We move along to Alex Tuch. Again, you know what you're getting with Alex Tuch, right? The points, weren't exactly there last year, but he still almost led the team. The guy just puts his heart and soul in each and every game, loves the city, and I think he's going to love playing under Lindy Ruff and know the expectations. So, I'm expecting big things from Alex Tuch this year, especially with that A. Again, Tage Thompson, another assistant captain. I guess I should have mentioned that as well. But let's move to the second line here. We have the revamped kid line, right? Before it was Peterka, Cousins, Quinn. Now we have Benson, Cousins, Quinn. Let's start with Zach Benson. I mean, could it have got any better for Zach Benson last year? I guess so, because he seemed kind of prone to just getting robbed every single game. He didn't get penalties called for him. Every solid opportunity he got, the goalie turned into prime Dominic Hasek on him, and he still came out with a good number of goals last season. Again, I expect Zach Benson to have another great year. I expect his point total to be, way above last season just because, the amount of goals he could have got versus the amount of goals he actually got last year was substantial. So I just think, he's in the right spots. He's not afraid to put his nose into places. He reminds me of a Brad Marchand, right? Just a little annoying pest guy that's going to be in the league for a long time. And I'm so glad we got him because, again, if you look back on his first NHL goal against the Capitals, people just don't do that, right? How many people's first goals are freaking spinorama, plays like that? It's just incredible. So, again, trick shot or not, Zach Benson's going to be a great player this year. Now we move to Dylan Cousins. And Dylan Cousins, he had a rough year last year. Again, a couple injuries here and there, but, he was wearing that cage for a while. But Dylan Cousins was a huge disappointment last year. But I'm expecting a Dylan Cousins breakout year. Again, this kid's got all the potential. He's tough. He's gritty. He's got a nice shot. He's smart. This kid's, his potential in his ceiling is just so high. So I'm expecting a big year from Dylan Cousins. So far, we've said nothing but good things about this team. So let's move on. We got Jack Quinn, another guy who's been injury prone his entire career. Last year, had that injury in preseason or training camp. comes back for a couple of games, looked really good, and then he has another injury that wipes him out for the rest of the year. So just an unfortunate year, almost comical for Jack Quinn. But when he was on the ice, he looked really good, and a guy just like J.J. Peterka, where his ceiling is through the roof, and you just got to kind of hope he continues to develop. Again, I'd put Peterka ahead of Quinn right now just because, he's had more time on the ice, but Jack Quinn could easily end up being a better player than Peterka. And again, you're going to have to pay them both pretty soon, right? So you got to start weighing your options. You re-sign both, you re-sign one. Again, that's for the future, though. Let's move on to our third line. This is where things get interesting, right? Jason Zucker, first things first on the left wing. Again, Jason Zucker, how much left does he have in the tank? Last season, he actually looked pretty solid, but again, he's not going to be, a speedster or anything. He's starting to get a little older. He's not going to be super slow, and I want to preface that by saying he's not going to be like an Okposo where, he's just kind of lugging around. He'll be a little better than that. I don't expect too much from Jason Zucker. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to be the perfect fit to this team. I really hope he is, but man, I struggle to see how he ends up becoming like, a top two liner on this team. I know in the preseason, a lot of people had him on that second line for a little bit, but it's just not going to happen. Now we have Ryan McLeod at the center of our third line, and again, that was part of a trade where we traded away. Again, I don't want to go on a rant here, but we trade away Matt Savoy to the Edmonton Oilers for this guy, and nothing against Ryan McLeod. He's super fast. That's the biggest thing with him, right? And he can be physical, but a lot of Oilers fans say he tends to shy away from the physicality. It's just annoying that the Sabres, hoard all these prospects, and then they trade one of their top guys for a third-line center. Albeit, the third-line center position is exactly what we needed. So it is what it is. We'll see what we get from him. And then our third-line winger right now is Jordan Greenway. Again, a guy who, struggled last season, and he does have an upside. He's big. He's, when he wants to be physical, he's a good player. He could kind of bully in front of the net, maybe on a second power play unit. He's a really good penalty killer. But again, we got guys, and a lot of prospects coming up where Greenway's probably my first guy off this team if something happens. Let's move to the fourth line here. A completely new fourth line. Same thing with the third line. But fourth line, Beck Malenstein, who we traded right before the draft. He was traded from the Capitals. Part of the reason we got Beck Malenstein is Abdul Kubel, who is our right winger now. And they're going to both be on that fourth line from the Capitals, so they're experienced playing with each other. And then Sam Lafferty slotted right in between them at the center position. That fourth line looked really good in preseason. But again, they were playing pretty much AHL squad, so you'd expect that. Sam Lafferty got a couple goals, I believe. But, this fourth line, again, like I said in the beginning of this video, it's a more complete team. It's not necessarily a more talented team, right? This line's going to go out there. They're going to do their job. They're probably not going to score a bunch of goals, but they should have some physicality, some speed, and make the other teams kind of lug it around a little bit. And then once they come off the ice, you got that top line coming back in. Let's talk about the subs because the Sabres get to bring a couple more guys to Europe here for these first two games against the Devils. So Yuri Kulik is there, Peyton Krebs, and Lucas Rusak. Again, we're familiar with all three of these guys. Kulik was supposed to be the next great thing, and then last year had a little bit of a down year in Rochester. But again, he's still got time, and he's looked really good so far through camp and through preseason. Peyton Krebs, we just re-signed him. Again, a hot topic. A lot of people like Peyton Krebs. A lot of people hate him. Again, if he's not going to crack this team, I think we should have traded him just to get something out of him. But he's definitely a valuable asset if somebody goes down, and probably the first guy in if something happens on this trip. And then Lucas Rusak, again, you know what you're getting with him. He's a solid player, a top of the AHL guy, but when it comes to NHL hockey, he kind of blends in, right? He's not anything special. We move to defense. Let's talk about this pretty quickly because there's not much that's changed. Darlene Jokiharju, you know what you're getting from them, right? Darlene's your superstar. Again, he's got to have another monster year for this team to get to the playoffs. Henry Jokiharju, again, a little surprising to see him on that first line, but again, with Samuelsson not looking great last year, that's kind of what they've decided to do. And Darlene and Jokiharju do look pretty solid together. Again, Jokiharju went through stretches last season where he didn't look like a competent player at all. And then he's also went through stretches where it's like, man, maybe we got something in this guy. And I know that's what they said in Chicago when he was there too. Like, high upside, but doesn't show it all the time. Second line, Bo Byram, who we traded with the Avs there for Casey Middlestat. We saw what he could do last year. Super high ceiling. I've said that for about every player so far on this roster. But again, he's one of those guys where if he's not scoring and producing in the offensive zone, he could bite you in the defensive zone. So, you got to hope he stays consistent all year. And he's paired with Owen Power. And Owen Power is, I'm gonna say this right now, he's the most pivotal guy on this team because I've seen Owen Power, when he's confident, become the best defenseman on the team for a night. And then I've also seen Owen Power become the worst defenseman on the team for a night. Again, he's still super young, especially, young relatively to how many games he's played in the NHL. I know, you could say Dahlin's young too, but Dahlin's played a lot longer than him in the league. Owen Power just gets in his head. So if he could stay confident, and I think he will under Lindy Ruff, again, you got to remember, a lot of these guys on this team have played for some really bad NHL coaches, especially the guys who have been here a while. So Owen Power, I'm definitely going to give him a second chance or third chance, if you want to say, and I think he's going to be just fine. And if he could just build that confidence, man, he is a tough player to play against. He's big, he's physical, he's smart, his passing ability is great. We've seen him go on stretches where I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, overtime. I think he scored 2 overtime goals in a row. I mean, the kid was just on fire. And then he goes through stretches where he's just in his head. He fumbles the puck behind his own net consistently. Again, we'll see what we get from Owen Power. Last line of defense, Samuelsson, again, a guy who we have signed long-term. We took a gamble on him. It hasn't really paid out so far. But again, he was injured a little bit last season and just didn't seem to have it. So far in preseason, again, doesn't really seem to have it, but has, he's also shown a little bit. So hopefully he can get back to that potential player we saw back when we signed him a couple years ago. He's partnered with Connor Clifton, again, a guy that's in there who isn't terrible, but isn't going to be a flashy player. He's not going to be like a Dahlin. Our backups, again, we get to bring 3 defensemen to Europe. So we have Dennis Gilbert, we have Jacob Bryson, and Cal Clegg. Again, as someone named Cal, I'm always rooting for Cal Clegg, but he's pretty much an AHL guy. Jacob Bryson, again, sneaks onto the team somehow. The team actually had a pretty solid record with him in the lineup last year. It was kind of a joke within the Sabres community, right? We're 8-0 with Jacob Bryson in the lineup. Oh, we're 11-2 with Jacob Bryson in the lineup. Like, it was kind of crazy. And then Gilbert comes over. I believe Gilbert's from the area, so hopefully he can crack this team at some point, but again, we'll see what we get there. I mean, our top 6 are definitely much better than the 3 backups we're bringing. And then, of course, our goaltender situation. UPL is going to be the starter. He'll play Friday. I would bet Levi plays Saturday unless UPL pitches like a shutout or something. And then James Reimer is our 3rd goalie. Again, that will change once we come back to America. I bet James Reimer goes to the AHL, but don't be surprised if Levi goes to the AHL if he looks really bad on Saturday. I've heard from some sources they're still weighing that backup position. UPL's locked in as the starter. But Devin Levi, they might want to get touched up in the AHL to start the season, and that would mean James Reimer, again, an older goalie, but a veteran who knows how to win you some games, could slot in there for the first, maybe 3rd of the season, and try to hold over some time until Levi gets going. But again, the best case scenario would be to see Devin Levi as the backup this year. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you excited about this team? Are you not? Again, I think the biggest addition this offseason was the transition from Don Granato to Lindy Ruff. So again, if you're going to get excited about a coach, at least it's Lindy Ruff. But again, not a ton going on in free agency. Do you think this team's going to make the playoffs? Do they have to make some big trade deadline moves? I don't know for sure, but let's enjoy these 2 games in Europe, and let's have a good time. And I will see you guys next Thursday for the recap, and then our first full week recap or preview, I guess I could say, where we play some actual games in the United States. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good one. Peace out.